Gulnar Omezak says she'll never forget the day Chinese authorities told her her third child was illegal. She says she was threatened, told to pay a fine of more than $2,500 or she'd be locked up in an internment camp.
They give shots and remove fetuses forcefully. If they say it's illegal, they make you get an abortion. Those who didn't obey were sent to the camps. Now people there are terrified of giving birth.
The Associated Press investigation is based on government statistics, documents and interviews with women like Gulnar, who say they knew people jailed for having too many children. Many received a prison sentence of years, even decades.
Government efforts to reduce birth rates in Xinjiang are both systematic and ruthless. We are talking the mass forced insertion of intrauterine contraceptive devices. We are talking threats of internment for those who violate birth control policies.
Zenz says the brutal crackdown is part of government efforts to control the Uyghur people, many of whom are Muslim, to purge them of their faith and identity. The investigation found the government had spent hundreds of millions of dollars on birth control in Xinjiang province in northwest China. Birth rates there decreased by about 24% last year, compared with 4% nationwide.
They want to eliminate us, but they can't kill all of us. It's not possible because the world is watching. So they're doing it step by step with policies like sterilisation, imprisonment, or separating men and women and making them work as forced labourers.
China says the camps are for re-education, part of what it calls a struggle against terrorism. But rights groups accuse Beijing of locking up more than 1 million people to brainwash and punish them. Those not detained are spied on. Zumret Dawood says her neighbourhood felt like an open-air prison. She tells how she was forcibly sterilised, along with about 200 other Uyghur women.
We lost a part of our body. We lost our identity as women. We will never be able to have children again.
Some women say they've been left with long-term injuries, a bitter reminder of everything they've lost. Alexi O'Brien, Aljazeera.
Let's hear now from Katrina Yu, who's in Beijing, and she says the policies described in the Associated Press report are much harsher than those applied to the majority Han ethnic group.
Now, it is true that Han women have since been subject to the same fines if they have more than 2 children, but they are certainly not thrown into any detention camps or subject to any sort of forced abortions or forced sterilizations, as we've seen noted in this Associated Press report. Conversely, Han women actually around the country have been encouraged to have a second child because of worryingly low birth rates across China. Now, we also know that in Xinjiang, people who are members of the Uyghur community have been strongly encouraged not to marry other Uyghurs, but into the Han majority. Analysts say that this is another long-term policy to dilute the population, the Uyghur population in Xinjiang, and it does appear that would be working. We know in 1949, according to official figures, 90% of the population in Xinjiang were Uyghurs. In 2018, only 47% were Uyghurs. Now, China's foreign ministry today on Monday responded to this report, essentially calling the Associated Press report fake news. It has always maintained that its policies in Xinjiang are national security issues designed to prevent terrorism and extremism and separatism, that they're in response to very violent knife and bomb attacks in recent decades. But as we heard just then, many human rights groups disagree, saying that many of these measures are based on race and religion. And not only do they say that up to 1 million people are held in these detention camps, which the government, by the way, calls vocational training centres, they say that many of these policies are designed to also erode the Muslim Uyghur religion and culture, as well as put them under very strict, almost suffocating levels of surveillance.